So I guess what's the solution? What's missing? What's the solution? Obviously, there's going to be a practical sense where you can do, as far as taking steps to self accountability. There's steps that individuals can take themselves to hold themselves more accountable. I think policing our own helps a ton. There used to be where people in our own community would call out other individuals that's what stepping out of line. We don't really have that as well. But I'm sure there's a spiritual aspect that, a missing piece as well. I mean, can you speak to the spiritual aspect?
Yeah, spiritual aspect is getting a good biblical foundation. You have to have that, and that's easier said than done because for one thing, most people, matter of fact, we're in the day and age of apostasy where most people are falling away from the church for a number of reasons. That's a whole nother situation to address. Improper teaching, finding some of the same culture in the church that you do on the outside of the church. And so people wonder, well, what's the purpose? And so therefore there's a critical need of biblical teachers who is going to teach the Bible where it can be applied for this present age in which we live in. In other words, we can't just teach the old way. In other words, you have to teach according to this present age that you live in. And since the people are not coming to church, that means there needs to be some form of outreach. And this is just one form that we have right here going on. But since we're a topic entitled The Fishers of Men, well, just think if you're going to do some fishers of men to help anybody, that means you're going to have to go out sometime, have to do some outreach work.
Yeah, and
So this is a good platform that we have here. But sometimes nothing can be the personal touch. And if you go back in time, like back in the 60s and 70s, that's what people did, unlike people now. Nobody has time to talk and fellowship right now. People come out their house, they don't even speak to their neighbor, they get in their car, boom, jet on down the road, do what they got to do,
mhm.
just come in their house and shut their door. There's a need for human touch. Nothing can take the place of communication. Nothing can take the place of talking. And that's even biblical. That's why God say don't fail to assemble yourself together, whether in the church or out of the church. That's where information is transferred. Even when you're in the classroom, just like us talking now, we're transferring information. Those who might be listening, they receiving information and critical information. And because you don't hear this type of talk being talked too much in the corridors of society, nobody takes the time to do that. They might be talking about sports. They might be talking about this. They might be talking about that. But the issues of life that we're talking about now, how often do you hear this type of conversation being spoke anywhere that we're talking right now? Not,
Well,
not even
especially
across,
with a balance.
right, and not even across many podcasts or platforms. You know, you got sports podcasts, you got podcasts on this, you got podcasts on that, but not dealing with spiritual and secular foundational things that can be tied together that can really help some young person's life.
Definitely, and I think it's a mixture of things. Like you said, it's a lot of outreach. That outreach can come from churches. That outreach can come from non-profits, separate organizations, individuals like ourselves. And then two, it's the other balance. I'm not saying, you have to be 100% tougher on crime, but I think there's a delicate balance between whether it's capital punishment or cracking down on laws. And then on the flip side, giving some activities and programs for youth, whether it's after school or something to preoccupy themselves.
Well, that's half of the battle to succeed is having something in place. Most youth get in trouble because their time is not managed and they don't have nothing in place. That's the whole reason why they end up in gangs' hands anyway, because something here is missing.
Mhm.
And young people are full of energy, full of ambition, full of thought. And if it's not channeled in any direction, guess what? The world and the people in the world will find somebody because there's always somebody out looking to use somebody. So, okay,
Yep.
here's the available person here. Hey, man, come on over. You want to do this? You want to do that? Make a little money. They'll make a slave out of you. They'll make a servant out of you without you even knowing. All tied back into foundation. Mom and daddy teach you, we ain't not finna do that. We got to do this, this, that, and the other. Half the battle of raising children is keeping their schedules full. If you keep their schedules full with good things to educate themselves, to learn about cleaning themselves, to learn about chores, to learn about this, history, family fellowship. Oh man, it's a ton of things to do. And most people, excuse me, and most people they don't do that because let's face it, when parents when you got kids, you have a tendency you got bills to pay and you have a tendency you want some time for yourself. Sometimes you're just tired. Sometimes you still got a life, some things you got to do, but that's a very, very delicate balance. That's where the biblical foundation helps us, because God gives us clues on how to do that successfully. And the reason why we need those clues is because we didn't come here knowing how to do
Yeah.
that.